Good evening, one and all, and welcome to your usual Sunday night. Little bit of APAT poker. No Des on the show tonight. I'm afraid he's still travelling back from a jolly sunny weekend in Wales. But I do have the one and only Phil Colls alongside me to chat poker and chat football, and hopefully somewhere down the line, once we sort a few technical problems out, we will get Asa on the call as well. But evening, Phil. How are you doing?
Good evening. Good, thanks. Enjoying the summer. You okay?
Yeah, it's good, thanks. Well, obviously, as a teacher, yeah, the summer's great for you, isn't it? Yeah, because, I mean, it's just, you pop your feet up. I mean, you just, I presume it's just a drinking binge for 6 weeks. Yeah, pretty much.
It's soft play after Safari Park, after general parks and slides and all of that jazz.
Yeah, all the, that sounds like term time to me, I mean, as well. Yeah, that's just, it's just yeah, it doesn't sound a huge amount different. Now, you're playing a bit of poker, so we've got to bear that in mind as well, because you're on the final table of the PLO main event tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, it's the bubble.
And are still in the turbo that started at 9 o'clock. Yeah, so you're multi-tabling as we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, speaking of the turbo, we slightly changed the timings on this since we've last done a show. So you've still got 3 minutes before late registration closes. We've left it so now so it just stays open just as we go live on the show. So if you want to get into that, there's already 52 runners that are already in that, 33 of those remaining. You've got about, say, 2 minutes now if you want to get into that $11 tonight. It's Turbo Knockout. It'll finish for the end of the show. There's lots of fills in there. I can see Roman Champy's in there. Pete Wigglesworth is in there tonight. Simon Cook's currently chip leader in that. So if you want to get involved in that, do so. Asa, who hopefully will be on at
I might be here.
Oh,
I can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear Asa. Excellent. We've
Hello.
got Asa. No camera, unfortunately, but we have got him on audio, which is the one important thing. Now, Asa is on the final table of the No Limit Hold'em tonight. So evening to you, Asa, and give us a quick, Phil, how's that tournament gone for you so far? Was it 7 left, so you're in the money, and you're currently 3rd in chips, yeah?
Yeah, it's been pretty decent, to be absolutely honest. Started really well. I got very lucky against Miss Bromley, who decided to shove when I had a nut flush earlier. I got to the last 8 or 9 quite straightforward, and I've doubled up twice since getting on the final table, so it's been quite good so far.
Easy peasy.
Right, Phil, that's right. So that's how you do it, Phil. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what it's all about. Yeah?
So you can't do it by folding every hand pre-flop now.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. So what I will do is, whilst I'm chatting through, I'll give you a quick update on where we are for the leaderboard ladders for the week. I will warn you, it's going to be a heavy football chat, I think, for the next 90 minutes. We've got a lot to unpack from the first 3 weeks of the Premier League, plus everything else for sure. But I will obviously pop the poker up. We've got Ace's table up there for the time being, just as we're watching Raffle Gill with 9-8 all in against Daniela's Pocket Jacks, and that's how you play Pocket Jacks, people. It's as simple as that. Not a problem whatsoever. But it's the usual thing. 4 tournaments on a Sunday night to conclude another week of Leaderboard Ladders. You're all chasing one Tony Ross, Ilfracombe's finest, top of the leaderboard going into this final day. But he has got a number of people that are chasing him down. Another of Ilfracombe's finest, Yanni, is second on the leaderboard. Eddie Naxu's 3rd. Andre Tim from Kazakhstan, he's been top of the leaderboard, I think twice in the last month or so. Chaz Kearns is there as well. Shug is in the top 10. Enzo Villafan from Argentina, who was messaging on the group this week, chasing down some of his tickets, so we're getting that sorted for him now. So loads of players still in the mix with the 4 remaining tournaments. Deep Stack's already concluded not that long ago, because we've moved it to a 6 o'clock start now from the 5 o'clock start. So that's already done though. Dwyer Tobin Monaghan from Ireland picked up $141 in that, beating Stuart Pillinger into 2nd place. Mark Winsell was 3rd. Points also for Sharon Taylor, Andrew Manson, Brendan Garrett, Oliver Boatwood. So well done to all of you guys. Late Reg has just closed in the 9 p.m. Turbo Knockout. So 55 runners in that now in total. 34 remaining. We're paying top 9 in that. So as I was saying, we're watching the final table of the No Limit Hold'em as Danielle is all in with 8s again against Andres's King Jack, and that's how you play 8s as well, guys. It's as simple as that. You just got to win your flips on a final table. So
yeah, I folded a suited ace there.
Did you? Daniela's folded.
Yeah,
she's doubled up twice. Daniela, regular player from Germany. Plays quite a lot of the APAT games. So as I say, that's No Limit Hold'em main event final table. We're down to 7 in that top 9. We're getting paid $652 up top for winning that one tonight. So
we're down to 4 in the PLO as well.
I was going to say the PLO's absolutely flown by, and we're down to 4, so we're in the money in that as well now. And Phil's there, second in chips, Mr. Colls. But you've got a huge chip leader on that final table, haven't you?
Yeah, well, he's just killing everybody every hand, although he's just doubled somebody up there. So
let me see if I can quickly, you have to ignore the lobby at the bottom, but I'll bring, let me just quickly bring Phil's table up so you can see what we're just talking about there. So Phil's top of your screen there, 126,000. Mark Hopton, though, 873,000. I mean, like nearly double the other 3 put together, I think. Chaz, at the bottom of the table there is the short stack with 48,000 blinds, 3K, 6K. So Chaz is now sat on about 8 bigs. So he's still not, it doesn't have to get super busy yet. But the guys have all locked up $88, $328 up top in that one. So how are you going to play this, Phil, now with this super chip leader here?
I think position's got to come in a little bit more now, isn't it? So. I think if I can get in first raising, I will, but I've got big stack to my right and he's playing it properly at the moment. So
yeah,
I think I'm just going to have to shove it in when I get something decent. Yeah,
that's probably the best approach. Just having a quick look at the chat. So we're live on the Facebook group tonight. So evening to Simon Lawler. Hope you're doing well. Dan Austin's there as well. Hi, Dan. Sorry we had to cancel the show last week, but we will get you back on as soon as possible. I'm just not going to book Dan with Adam Neal. Adam Neal always gets ill whenever I try and book them both together. I think there's something very strange going on there. Tom Clark says, good evening all. Tony Ross says, evening all. Simon says, hopefully no APAT show curse. Well, do you know what, Simon? I think I've got this sussed. For 2 and a bit years now, we've had this APAT show curse. Who's not here tonight? And both guests are on a final table. I mean, it's not me. Definitely not me. Simon says, good luck, Asa.
Thank you, Simon.
And I'm sure he also... And Dan Thirstfield's in there says, be lucky, Phil Colls, be lucky. Well, he's laddered up another one, Phil, with Chaz the short stack going. So we're down to 3 now. So it's it doesn't change your plan, does it really?
No. Maybe we've got a pick on him. Me and Nico.
Yeah, so Nico from Finland is the player there with the mid stack with 200,000. So, but to be honest, his stack is not much different from what you're playing, really, Phil, in the grand scheme of things here, is it?
No. But Mark is just raising every hand completely correctly.
Well, you got to do it.
I'm keeping an eye on Ace's table as well because, there's a few stacks that are starting to get a little bit low. One of the short stacks is in, so there could be another ladder opportunity on here. Look at us, there's me. I've been billing this whole thing as we're just going to pretty much talk football, and we've literally piled straight into poker because there's a lot going on. I'm keeping an eye on the turbo as well, just to let people know. Phil's still in that one, 14th of the 30 remaining. So,
this is an interesting one. This is good.
On your one, let me flip over to Ace's table because he's in the middle of a hand here.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, interesting one.
So Rafael's all in, and Daniela you're up against, and actually had turned the straight, and you turned 2 pair. I think you've got off quite lightly there, Ace.
I think if it didn't come to the 4th card to the straight on the river, I'm out as well. But it is what it is. I'm now back in my comfort zone of lasting chips. So
Yeah, but to be, I think you. I mean, you've laddered up another spot there, but actually, I think you played that well to not.
Nice double, Phil.
Broke on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Phil doubled up through Mark. So over on the PLO.
Yeah, because considering I've not really played for properly what is for probably a year now, I'm quite happy with tonight. It's been a long time since I played.
Well, I was going to say,
good session.
So it's been a while since we've had you on the show. So as Phil is all in, Mark, and it's done with the flush.
Ace has lost. Yeah, well, I had the flush as well, and I thought that was a good backup, but never mind.
Not to be, unfortunately. So Phil's going to depart in third place, picking up $124 though, which means he can now focus on winning the turbo knockout that started at 9. Yeah, time to get busy in that one. We'll focus a bit on Aces. So I was just saying, Aces. Yeah, so we haven't seen you on the show for a little while. What have you been doing life wise, poker wise? What's been going on?
Well, poker wise is quite simple. Apart from the team event at Dusseldorf, I've done absolutely nothing. I've been just having a bit of a chill time away from poker. I do it quite frequently, just to recharge the batteries. And really, all I've actually been doing is working, which sounds quite bad, but it's actually been quite enjoyable as well. So I've been taking life easy and having a chill. It's probably the best way I could describe it.
Nothing wrong with
watching a lot of cricket, I bet, as well.
You know what? No, I've literally not. Last couple of weeks especially, I've been quite busy. I had Mr. Clark here last weekend, a very last minute visit.
He didn't just turn up on your doorstep. I hate it when he does that. It's really
he nearly did. It was close to being that, to be absolutely honest. I think we sorted it the night before. He'd won a seat to the 25-25 in Manchester.
Ah, okay, cool.
And I obviously said he can crash, no problem. And then he proceeded to basically bubble the tournament.
Oh,
yeah. Which is a little bit hard for him, and it's
I love that kind of stuff, because that's another. It's just APAT friendship, isn't it? Of just like of people meeting up through poker or whatever, and then can kind of get together, and can be a little bit about the blue thing. I'd say it's quite a nice. It's a nice way to be, isn't it?
Yeah, the weird thing is, I basically had, because I was working all last weekend, I basically hadn't saw him at all until he got knocked out on Sunday, which is quite bad. Hiya, Tom. Sorry you're out.
That is unfortunate. Yeah, Tom's in the chat says I gave him one night's notice, which I mean that seems quite reasonable to be perfectly honest. Don Logan's in the chat says evening all. See Simon's pushing it onto football already. Says good to see David Moyes has got Man United off the bottom of the table. Well, I mean, I didn't want to say anything. I mean, I've got so many stats about the big game tomorrow night. I don't even know where to start.
Phil, what did we call it earlier? Was it a 6-point relegation match?
Yeah, I was only teasing though.
Well, no, you say that, but I mean, you've got to put it into perspective. I said to Dave Amos earlier on in the week. I mean, if you just said to me we're only going to be 2 points off the quadruple chasing Liverpool, a few games in, and bear in mind their games so far, they've only played teams below them in the table, and we've only played teams that are above us in the table.
There you go.
So really, when you put that into context, but actually that's changed obviously with the games over the weekend. But what's interesting is the weekend so far has seen Liverpool drop down places in the league, whereas we've moved up. So I mean, it just the momentum feels like it's with us completely. As Ace is all in and has run into the Ace Queen of Andreas, and I think that's going to be Ace.
Good run, Ace. Well
Thank you.
Picking up $134 though, Aces. So nice effort from you, my friend.
Thank you. It's a good start to the next week off that I have.
Excellent. So does that mean you might play a bit of poker then? Or?
Oh God, absolutely. Yeah, I've literally no other plans this week. So it was always my intention to start up again this week anyway. So happy days.
Excellent. Well, let me just give a quick update on the PLO that Phil was playing. He finished third. It's no surprise that Mark Hopton, who pretty much Phil crushed that final table? Is that a fair?
Yeah,
comment?
he start the final table. It was fairly even stacked, and then I kind of looked away for 2 minutes, and 4 people had been knocked out, and he'd done them all. So
Yeah,
he
so,
deserved it.
I guess that's just it. When momentum is in your, in your corner, then you can sometimes just do that because structure wise, yeah, there was plenty of play in that, but he just was foot to the floor and wasn't gonna hang around.
Yeah, I mean, just maybe you found a few situations like I had aces against him, and you need hands like that for people to play back, don't you? So
yeah, it's a difficult one. It's not a huge amount you can do. As I say, you can focus on. Well, I say focus on. Am I going to have to scroll down to find you on the turbo, or you're still going strong in that?
yeah, a bit quiet at the moment. Asa said he missed the game today. He missed a treat.
Did you not see any of it at all, Asa? No?
I've seen the goals, and that's it. I saw the goals about an hour ago. Yeah, unfortunately, with the late staff meeting, so one of those things we have one every 6 months, so it just happened to be today.
Okay, fair enough. There wasn't much going on. It was,
no, there wasn't 3 City fans at work all swearing at each at the scoreline when they heard it was 3-1.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so we're only 3 games into the season, Asa, and obviously you're still basking in the glory of last season, but you've got to be happy with the way City have started so far, and with your summer transfer business, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The only concern I have ever had was the fact that we've given up Zinchenko. I wasn't too fussed with Jesus or Sterling going. Zinchenko just being, he could play literally anywhere, left side for us at all. And him going is actually, I think we've actually missed him as an opportunity to make some changes. But apart from that, yeah, delighted with the start. At the end of the day, we could be where Liverpool are right now. And obviously, I know Liverpool have only played 2 games, but they should really have lost both of them, if we're absolutely honest with things.
I don't think that's an unfair statement to make. I mean,
looking at everything.
Fulham were very unlucky not to.
Oh yeah, that game was fantastic. Like looking at everything I've seen on Twitter, City were lucky to not lose, and also unlucky not to win. It was one of those games where anything could have happened.
It was a really weird one this afternoon. Did you watch all of it, Phil?
Yeah, I came in to sort of catch most of the second half of the Leeds Chelsea game, and then I got all the Newcastle game in after. I just loved it from start to finish. It was one of those games. Being neutral, it's just I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really interesting how easy Newcastle seemed to get at the City back line, and then once the crowd got up and realised they were in this, because obviously I think did you beat them 4? Was it 4 or 5 on the back towards the end of last season?
Yeah, it was something like that. We had this discussion at work today.
Yeah, it was a significant sort of the sort of scoreline that normally is only United get done by those sorts of scores. But it did feel, I think the fans were a little bit like, well, okay, well, how different is our team, the Newcastle team from last season? And City looked stronger with Haaland. This could be a tough one. But actually, once they realised they could get at them,
well, do you not think that's been a pattern so far this season with the way that these so-called kind of mid-table teams are taking on the big boys? Brentford pressed United off the park completely. It was embarrassing at times. And Fulham did the same to Liverpool on the first day. Brighton did the same to United on the first weekend. It's just, I mean, you've got to be incredibly fit to play like that. But I think they are showing that if you don't give even the quality of players like Liverpool and City time on the ball, they're human.
Yeah, I think what's interesting this season, it certainly feels the most competitive Premier League from top to bottom that I've seen for a long time. Every team seems organised. Every team seems to have the ability to press, and therefore the better teams that think they can just play through and have got a right to win games, if you're not up to it, you're basically going to come across and could come across really in a bad way.
You're going to have to earn your wins, aren't you?
Yeah, that very much feels to be the case. I mean, I thought after the first 2 weekends, City were going to absolutely walk away with this. Maybe today was just a little bit of a a blip. I know. I mean, you've got quite a few injuries, Asa, haven't you? It's surprising when people might not realise they look at your subs bench, and there's a lot of youngsters on there at the moment.
Yeah, there is. I think the one we're really missing is Americ Laporte. He's both injured and just become a dad. Literally 2 days ago, I think it was. Phillips isn't fit yet, even though he's on the bench. He's really not fit. Grealish is out injured again. He's got a knock in training. And like I said, we haven't really replaced Zinchenko yet, so we haven't really got another defender to put there, which, I know we've just brought in I can't remember the new guy.
Gomez.
That's it, thank you. I know we've just brought him in, but he's been with the squad, 2 days, 3 days? So you can't throw him into a game like that. 3-3, you're not putting him on. If it was, 3-0, you put him on. Here you go, here's the Premier League experience. 3-3, you just don't do it. It's like one of the things that we were talking about on the way home from work today, because there was just happened to be 3 City fans in the car, was one of the biggest advocates for the 5 subs rule was Pep Guardiola, and yet we made 1 sub, which was enforced.
Is that because he didn't trust the rest of the players, or?
I think it was partly because we never know with Pep, do we? No one ever knows what he's thinking. To me, it was, you got us in this mess, you get us out of this mess. And then once we got out of that mess, it was like, well, go and win the game. And secondly, who could we bring on? Phillips, who's coming back from injury. Alvarez, who's obviously going to be good, but it's not the type of game you throw him into again. Because, again, the crowd were getting so up, from everything I was reading, that it was getting quite tasty. Obviously, the incident with Trippier getting red carded and then reversed, the crowd really got up after that, from everything I've seen.
I think that was the right decision.
Yeah.
That it went to VAR and he had another look at it and realised that maybe he was a bit. What was your take on it, Phil?
Our boys' chat's been really busy actually after that, and I seem to be one of only about 2 that thought it was right to undo it. I was looking at the studs. The studs were pointing down. So if you're going to define it as endangering an opposition player, I don't think he was ever going to hurt De Bruyne. With that, it was very cynical and very predetermined, and not in the spirit. But I think yellow was right. But I seem to be in the minority in my boys' chat.
Yeah, no, but I thought the same. I don't mind. At least let him have another look at it and let him make a decision. And if he still sticks with this decision, fair enough. What worries me at the moment is I don't think it happens very often whereby if VAR say go and have a look at the screen, it's pretty much nearly always a case that it's overturning a decision, isn't it? Or you need to spin that, change your view.
Would you classify it as a big mistake then, the red card?
Well, I suppose no,
because you're not supposed to interfere unless it's defined as a big mistake, and that's actually the way. If you explained it to me and said I think it's wrong for that reason, I'd probably agree with you.
Yeah, but you're right from that point of view, because there's an argument that it's not a case of it as if it shouldn't have even been a booking. It was certainly at least a booking, and it probably was somewhere between a booking and a red card.
Which means it's not a massive mistake to send him off.
No, exactly. Yes. So you're right from that point of view. It isn't a massive mistake. But to me, it's like, well, why can't the referee on the pitch go, actually, can I go and have another look at that? He should be able to say, actually, can I just go and see a replay of that, because I need to make it's to decide it's right. But that means changing the rules completely and how it's interpreted. But I'd love that to be a situation, because you get that rugby where the referee will go, right, I'm giving a try, but can you just check anything where there's any reason why I shouldn't give a try? That feels an appropriate way to use the technology.
Yeah, the ref requests the use of it, and then the video ref does as he's told. Yeah, it would make a lot of sense.
Tom Clark's in the chat. First of all, he says he finished, I think he bust 32nd, and they was paying top 30, so it wasn't the pure bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble.
Just to be clear on that one. It's not the pure bubble. Just on his comment about I gave him 1 night notice, Don Logan says I stopped reading at 1. So just, left it at that. But Tom says Rangers had a player sent off much less yesterday. Sadly, we're not getting VAR in Scotland until after the World Cup. I mean, what's that all about? Halfway through a season, you're going to all of a sudden bring VAR in? Seems a bit.
Yeah, they voted for it, didn't they? That was a specific vote that happened. Because I was actually having a chat with Tom today about it, which was, I can't believe how many red cards there've actually been just in the Scottish Premier League this weekend. The 2 in the Rangers game, 2 in the Celtic game, which is, both all on the same side, by the way. It's just, depends which way you look at it, but all against Rangers. So 2 for the team Celtic were playing and 2 for Rangers. But that's, let them argue about that. It's Scottish football.
Yeah, I mean, it's, what level? What level does it? Is it count? Is it like Championship? Is it English Championship, or is it lower than that?
Good question. I think Rangers Celtic is probably Premier League. Just that game though.
There used to be lots of discussions about whether they would ever join up with the English structure.
Well, isn't Joe Hart like a world standard goalkeeper playing for Celtic now, like 5 years after?
Yeah, that's probably a good enough thing to say. It's like, no one else will have him, so
he went to Scotland.
The reason all of that doesn't happen, it's all around voting rights, isn't it? Because each of the FAs get their own voting rights, and therefore if they started trying to amalgamate bits and pieces, it would be a little bit tricky. Although you've got Welsh teams playing in the English league, so
which is so another story altogether. But we'll never have to worry about them. So making lots of friends tonight, aren't we?
No, I'm staying out of this one.
It's a fair way to. So what's your take, Phil? First 3 weeks of the Premier League. Happy, unhappy?
Well, I watch it purely and simply from an FPL point of view. So I just want, I can watch and want any team to win based on whether I might get 2 bonus points in midfield for that player or something. I'm impressed by Arsenal a lot. What I've seen so far, whether it'll last, I think we've got to wait and see another few games. If I was a United fan, I'd be in tears.
Well, it's not been an enjoyable first 90 minutes to watch, and I'm not convinced tomorrow night is going to be far better. But I'll hold off judgment until the transfer window closes and see what we get in and what we're looking like then.
Would you take yourself to finish ahead of Newcastle this year? This is a question I put in the boys' chat, and they all still think United.
Not so much that who we bring in, but who's gone by the end of the transfer window. That'll be the interesting one. So Phil, I'm curious, in your on your fantasy football, so you're a fantasy FPL team, you get to select a fan league.
Yeah.
And you've chosen Everton.
For the first time in about 8 years. Yeah, just because it's local.
Okay. Oh, right,
because I can't pick Burnley anymore.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
And I only picked Burnley because Sean Dyche was the manager and he's an ex-Chesterfield captain. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. And I was looking at I had to scroll down a bit to find your team, Asa.
Yeah. So did I.
Yeah. So here, Phil, have you looked at Asa's team?
No.
Right. Okay.
Don't.
So he's got 1 City player in the squad. Who do you think?
Would you like to know why?
Who do you think it is first, Phil? And then you can explain the reason why, Asa.
Ruben Diaz.
Nope.
Have I got a guess again?
Well, you keep going until
Kevin De Bruyne.
Nope.
I don't know.
Phil Foden.
He's gone. Phil Foden is his only City player. Asa, why have you only got 1 City player in your
because
squad?
I had 3 minutes to pick my side before the before the time ran out, so I just picked a side really quickly.
Okay.
It's one of the many things that I'm going to be doing this week is looking at it properly. The weird thing is I'm relatively happy with the squad that I've got. The players that I've got, I'm relatively happy with. They're just not, like this week, Perisic's got 12 points on the bench. That's just me. That's just how I run. I'm not as bad as some I know there's one particular person who I will not name names, whose bench scored more than their team last week. The 4 players on the bench scored more than their team. I'm not going to name names, but they told me that earlier.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Asa, is I will. I think I can bring your.
Yeah, let's have a laugh. Come on.
I can bring your team up. Here we go.
Oh, there you go. Got more points than me this week.
So here's Asa's team. So currently got 33 points for the week. So Mendy in goal, Trippier, Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk and James at the back, Foden, Ward-Prowse, Son and Mount, Jesus and Mitrovic up top with a bench of Perisic, Fornals, Alan Armstrong and Foss. That's not bad, Phil, is it, to be honest? I mean, he's on the 3rd page of our league at the moment. I'm not quite sure how, because that's not a bad squad.
Well, it's no Salah, no Haaland, though, is it?
No.
Well, so that's the interesting one. Is that pretty much it? If you choose to go without Salah and Haaland, you're really gonna struggle this season.
I think if you go without Salah, you're putting yourself at a massive, massive disadvantage because the guy's just a machine. I think you've got to get lucky with your combinations, not including him, to score more points than what he would score.
I will also say in my defence, this is the first time in about 6 years I've actually played. So I'm still getting round to thinking about it. And, I might have kept the same side. I don't know.
To be honest, Jesus has scored stacks in the first 2 weeks, I think.
He's the biggest bargain in the game this year, I think.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And Ward-Prowse is will get you points. To pretty much, I had Son as my captain this week, and just didn't. I really thought Tottenham were going to turn it on, and it just didn't really happen.
Well, my captain will hopefully get 3 or 4 assists tomorrow. So, Alexander-Arnold.
Mine will hopefully get a hat-trick.
Is yours... I was going to say, what I will do is I'll just... so we've ended up... I should just say on the Fantasy League... I think we've ended up 152 teams, so I'm going to close it off probably after tomorrow night's game for new entries in this. So currently, bottom of the leaderboard is one Carl Pilgrim. Don't know really what to say about that. Clearly, he knows more about fantasy WSOP than he does about fantasy football. But we'll see what happens. Currently, top of the table was top after week 1 is Don Logan, who I know is in the chat. Phil thought he really closed the gap up on him earlier on today. Because you messaged me, Phil, didn't you? So I'm only a point off the top.
Yeah, I've had a bad day.
Yeah, you're now 12 points off the top. Let me see if I can bring up Don's team. There you go. So so Don's got Jesus, Haaland, and Salah all in that team. I mean, that's
I've got all 3 as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good going. And he still managed to get Zinchenko, Diaz, and Robertson in there as well, and Ederson.
Yeah.
Who the hell is his players he's not got in? Crikey.
Well, I've finally listened to the advice that a certain friend of mine who tries to advise me properly every single year, and I've completely ignored him for about 5 years on the trot. And this year I listened to him, and this year I finally made a decent start. The trick is to probably waste 2 players on the bench that are never ever going to play, that are the cheapest options, and that allows you to save.
Yeah, I always.
Yeah, you see, I've never done it before. I've always panicked and went, oh, well, I want them all to play, so I've got the option. So instead of a 4.5 striker, I'd still have a 5. And instead of a 4 million goalkeeper, I'd still have a 4.5. And you end up losing 1 to 2 million over the rest of your squad that is going to play. And that's the difference between having a 4th defender who's world class instead of just 3. And you're amazed how much difference that makes.
It really, really does. To be fair, there's a couple in there that in the defenders that are pretty much at the moment playing regularly. I think Patterson from Everton.
Yeah,
is one,
and Nico Williams.
Nico Williams at Forest, and Darlow at United. Not that you'd want a United defender at the moment anyway, but yeah, they're all out there. We are heads up in the poker. Because there is a game of poker going on here, and we will focus on the turbo shortly. We're down to 14 players in that one as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. But there's David Clark from the UK.
13. I'm just out of that.
You just lost. Unlucky.
Yeah, I lost the flip on the river.
that's the thing with the turbo is it is the case of you've got to win your flips if you want to see that one through. So we will keep an eye on that one as well. So we'll watch David and Daniela heads up in this and see where we go. So do we feel Arsenal are in the mix, not just for top 4, for anything more, or is it too early to say?
Too early for me. We all know there's going to be this point in the season where everything's just going to grind to an absolute stop, and it's all going to stop for 6 weeks nearly. I don't think anything matters before that. Yeah, there might be some gaps in the league and everything, but how are players going to come back from the World Cup? That's going to be it for me. And I think the first 5-6 games after the World Cup ends will be where the league has won and lost this year.
You've got Haaland, who's not going to the World Cup.
Shame that. Put your feet up, son.
What's your take, Phil? How do you think the World Cup will affect the league?
Not so much, really, unless there's a couple of bad injuries of key players in that World Cup. Going back to the Arsenal question, do you think they can get 90 points?
No.
Neither do I. And you're going to need to get in the 90s to keep up with City or Liverpool. So I don't see how they can challenge, but they look way more impressive than they did 12 months ago. You look at the squad and it's young, it's hungry, it's balanced. And I think Jesus has been a transfer of the summer because he seems to fit perfectly into how they play.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you guys tonight was, of the transfer window so far, who would you say has been the best signing? So, I think you'd struggle not to say that. But so it's interesting, Asa. Why is it just City let him go because it was a case of he wanted more game time and they couldn't do that, or do you think he'd run his course at City?
There's a bit of both. I think you've got it spot on there. I think he knows he's the Brazil number 9. He in the squad he is generally their number 9. So with the World Cup coming up, he needs to play, and he needs to play regularly to get in that starting 11. So for him, there's that big thing in his head going, there's a World Cup here. I'm probably, considering the type of player that I am, I'm probably coming up or in my prime. I need to play. And at City, he's not going to play every single week. I roughly knew 18 months ago, I was 99% certain 18 months ago we were going to sign Haaland. As soon as I heard about his release clause, I was absolutely certain we were going to get him. And, where does Jesus go from there? It's like, he probably would be the number 3 striker.
David's just rivered to stay in, heads up.
I was just about to go, well, that's going to be that table closed. Ace 10 versus Ace 4, and David's hit the 4 on the river to double up. Wow.
To be fair, David's played well, so he has played really, really well. So he does deserve a river now and again.
I think you're right, Asa, in everything you've just said. I
agree as well.
I think Arsenal have got some I think they've just got absolute value in that whole deal. I mean, it's just it's not a ridiculous sum of money. When you see, mind you, there's been a few of those with the strikers.
It's a massive hand for David.
Really swung in David's way now. Yeah. There's been a few of them. I mean, the Haaland deal, I think, is a ridiculously good value for him.
This is crazy. He's done it again.
Three hands and it's done. Wow. That's,
well done, David.
Yeah, well done.
That's how you do that. I will get I'll find another table to bring up. Crikey. Absolutely. How do you that's running good 3 hands in a row from being the short stack and the heads up game to see it through.
So, Asa, do you think that they'll let Jesus go if you didn't have Alvarez? Do you think it's Alvarez coming in that's allowed Pep to let Jesus go?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. From what I've seen of Alvarez, he's very in the Aguero mode of a striker. I don't know, obviously no idea whether he's going to be anywhere near that good. But he's in that sort of mould. He scores goals for fun. I know one of his last games in South America, I think he scored 4 before half-time, or was it hat-trick before and a hat-trick after half-time? Something stupid like that anyway. From my first impressions, obviously watched the first game when he came on. He's hungry. He chases the ball a lot. He's like Jesus was. Jesus is what I class as a really, really good defensive forward. He will do the real donkey work up front, and so does Alvarez.
Well, what the question I was just going to ask you, Asa, is he coming in to effectively just go through the same sort of career progression that Jesus has just gone through?
Yeah, I think so. I do think he's a little bit
at the age that Haaland is. He's not going to come in. He's not going to get in ahead. Can you play them both?
Yeah, Alvarez has played
right wing.
Yeah, right wing. Obviously, we can rotate him and Mahrez and Bernardo Silva because they can all. The good thing with the type of players that we seem to be buying, apart from Haaland, really, is they're all quite adaptable to where they actually play. What position is Bernardo Silva? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Where's he play? Left wing, right wing, centre mid, holding midfielder because he's done that as well. Not a clue where he plays. He's played, as a false nine. Yeah. That seems to be the type of player that we seem to be going for. Is the more flexible and adaptable player, which is, in some respects, it's a surprise we've got Haaland, but Haaland is, to me, he will at some point be that difference maker between us getting to a Champions League final and us winning a Champions League final.
Yeah, there's been quite a few, not criticising, but just saying, he seems to miss a few chances. He doesn't get as many touches as you might look, and he's got 3 goals and assists in 3 games.
Yeah.
Well, what's he going to be when he kicks off?
And there's a very good point that Pep made today, which was he hasn't played a full 90 minutes for, I think it was the last 3 months of the season as well for Dortmund. So he's still finding his fitness. Obviously, coming into a much more physical league, it's going to take him a bit of time to get used to it. And, and the type of football that we play, he's going to have to get used to how his runs change.
Mm.
There was something that literally the only thing that I saw of the game while I was at work was the pass from De Bruyne through 2 defenders, and Haaland's pace over 5 yards is scary.
He's so strong as well. There was 2 times there was 2 players hanging off his back, and he would just kept going. Scary. Yeah,
definitely. But like I said, I generally think he will be that difference maker now. But whether it's this year, next year, I don't know. I can't say. We'll be in the mix.
I still can't get over. I mean, I don't watch much of City, but I've watched a couple of the games this year. I don't know whether you were doing this last season, Asa, or not, but certainly this year, your fullbacks just drop into kind of central mid. And
inverted wing backs.
It's like it's incredible to watch, and pretty much just relying then on the centre backs to do the job, allowing everybody else to kind of effectively push up field more and create opportunities further up the pitch. It's amazing to watch.
Oh God, absolutely. The difference that I've seen is that last season the only person that would actually do that consistently is Cancelo. Now Walker's doing it more as well. Where I don't think Walker's as strong in that position. I think Walker is much better doing what he's been doing for the last 2-3 seasons, which is just bombing down the wing, and giving us that option instead. He's not, he's still nowhere near the best crosser of the ball or anything like that. But he gives us that option down the wing, and his work, especially when Mahrez plays, because Mahrez cuts his side quite a lot, frees up space for Mahrez. Now, with him coming into a middle, he congests it even more and tends to leave the wingers one-on-one. So whether that's better for City, I don't know. We'll see. I think it's just another...
There's a little bit of moulding it, isn't there? Because obviously with Haaland coming in, it means players are having to play differently. And you can't turn around and expect Haaland to play the way City have played and won the league last year. That does not play into his strengths. So they've got to realise, okay, we need, sometimes we do need to actually get the ball in the box a little bit quicker than trying to play 50 passes and tap it in.
I think that'll make them better though, because it's an option.
So. Yeah,
the more options you've got, the more variety, the less you can prepare to play them. I think that's United's problem at the moment. I don't know whether it's a Ten Hag thing or whether it's just the culture at the moment, but he seems to be one of those managers where you play out the back, you play out from the back, and there is no plan B.
Yeah, and at the moment we haven't got players that can certainly do that. Just Jumping back into the chat quickly, just to pick up on Tom Clark making the point, and quite rightly too. Amazing that a team from league standard lower than English Championship made a European final. No, desperately wanted Rangers to win that, but wasn't to be. Comments on the VAR saying the SPFL are taking the cheap option and just picking up the VAR equipment that'll be used for the World Cup once it's been finished being used. which sounds about right. Daniel Thursfield's in there saying, yeah, he played Son as captain was his idea too, and I'm not sure who he's suggesting to play your wild card to. It could be you, Asa, I'm not quite sure, but play your wild card was the comment. Don Logan says 10 games in is a good way to see we'll have a better picture. I think he's probably right. And then Don asked the question, which I guess takes us on to the United discussion, is I can't believe 60 million for Casemiro at 30, and he's used to slow Spanish football. Okay, as non-Man United fans, what do you both make? Not necessarily of the club, but of their efforts so far in the transfer window as a club of, I guess, the stature that they still have as a club, albeit on the pitch nowhere near that at the moment.
I think for me, they seem to be very unique in the way that I don't know whether it's deliberate or whether it's people leaking information, but you seem to know who United are after from day one. And you've got other teams like Chelsea and City and Liverpool. You don't seem to know who they're after until the day before when a bid goes in, and then they've signed that player 2 days later. United always seem to chase people over a long period of time and don't even get half of them.
Do you think that's the club, or do you think it's the media? I mean, a couple of the media outlets this week have now got to a point where they're now putting together the best 11 of players that have turned down Man United in this transfer window. I mean, it's got to that point of, and the reality of it is as a club, they're still one of the biggest supported in the world, and therefore you fill your column inches with United stories and people. I do love. I think on the BBC they open up the chat in some articles of it. And if it's ever a Man United one, most people just pile in going, oh, it's another Man United discussion. Well, there's a reason why it is. It's because
more people read it.
More people read it. But ultimately, yeah. How genuine do you think all these players are that have turned? I mean, I think they had Haaland on there. Well, Haaland was never coming to United when City approached. Núñez was on there. Well, he was never coming to United once Liverpool wanted him. Just wasn't going to be a thing. And quite a few of the players, I think, ultimately, our number one target for the summer doesn't really want to come to United. It's just Barcelona are kind of making the point that they need to get him off their payroll.
Yeah, I look at it this way: is if you're coming to play in the Premier League and you look at the clubs that are available, you can think straight away, right, City play this way, Liverpool play this way. I can even say, Chelsea are going to play this way. What United going to play like? What's their formation? What's their strategy? How are they going to win games? How are they going to defend games? At the moment, nobody has the slightest idea.
But I think they would know. I think the managers that they've had last year with Rangnick and Ten Hag this year, these are managers that will play a pressing style of football. But the problem you've got is you've probably only got like 2 players in the squad that are probably comfortable playing like that. And that makes you think, who's deciding which is the right manager? Or are they actually going to give him long enough to completely change the squad? Because that's going to cost how much?
Yeah.
You're going to have to move on how many players? And do you think the fan base will give Ten Hag 3, 4, 5 years of not qualifying for the Champions League? You've got to remember Liverpool under Klopp. Klopp didn't get them in the Champions League for 2 full seasons. It took him 3 seasons to build this amazing team that he's got right now. So that tells you how long Ten Hag's going to need. Do you think you get that long these days?
Klopp was a little bit hit and miss. Or all the pieces of the jigsaw that he's put together, people tend to forget the ones that they signed for big money that didn't actually ever achieve. Yeah. It's difficult to kind of understand. I mean, from a United point of view, we badly need another striker. But the reality of it is whilst Ronaldo's in the club and is basically the centre forward, who of any quality is going to want to come to the club to play second fiddle to Ronaldo?
I think the problems start even further back. I genuinely think when you look at the teams that have sort of improved the most over the last 5-6 years, they've all improved in one specific area first, or majorly, or they've targeted that area, and that's the goalkeeper. I genuinely think De Gea should be gone. You need someone who can play the ball out, and he can't.
I genuinely do not understand why we've treated Henderson the way we have the last 2 seasons.
Well, everything
it doesn't make any sense.
Whether this is true, I don't know. But everything I heard from Henderson is that he was promised from Solskjaer that he would start last season, and then he turned his back on that.
I think Henderson got COVID and therefore wasn't in the side. De Gea then put a decent run together, which to be honest, I think De Gea has been our player of the year for like 3 of the last 5 years or something like that. I mean, that's a frightening statistic.
I think that tells you quite a lot about your club.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. But no, you're quite right. As if you want to play that way, it's a confidence thing. And I couldn't believe it. I watched some of the pre-season games, and they looked like a different squad on tour. Yes, I know it's not properly competitive games, but they look like they got some confidence back. And then the first 2 league games, they look as if they there's no confidence there. They don't trust each other. They're not prepared, to play any sort of risky ball.
Well, there are 3 or 4 quality players there that just seem to have dropped off a cliff in terms of performance. I mean, you go through the FPL teams like you were doing earlier. You find anybody who's got Bruno Fernandes now.
You wouldn't.
Whereas 2 seasons ago,
not for the price he is, you would not.
Everybody would have had him as the second top midfielder alongside Salah 2 years ago. Jadon Sancho, he's a great player, but what's happened to him? And
Rashford is a midfielder at 6.5 million in fantasy Premier League. I mean that's that. If he was playing at the top of his game, that's an absolute bargain of a player to have in your side. But he's not even he's not anywhere near that, is he?
No, it would be a bargain if he started and up front, but he's not going to do that, is he? Unless they get rid of Ronaldo.
So we're back on it's back on the Ronaldo debate. I mean, would anybody take Ronaldo? Champions League team? Because I'm assuming that's what he wants. He wants a Champions League side that's prepared to pay him some sort of wages that's half decent. It probably won't be what United paid him, but if he really wants to go to get another year in the Champions League, which seems to be where the vibe that he's giving, who is there that would want him?
That's the thing. I can't think. Off the top of your head, you're not going to a top 8 side in Europe. I just don't see what. Don't get me wrong. He's still a great player. He's still got fantastic skill, but he doesn't press like he has to. Like in the top level, you have to be able to press, and if he doesn't, then you're kind of a passenger. The only possibility, I thought it'd be crazy, would be PSG. Can you imagine it?
Did you see the PSG game tonight?
I heard about the goal.
I had an eye on it because Sky Bet had a treble scoring booster with Messi, Neymar, and Lewandowski. So PSG were 4 up at half time. Mbappe got 1, Neymar got 1, Messi got 1. So I'm now on a sweat with Lewandowski in the Barcelona game at 9:00. He scored in minute 1.
Yeah, didn't Neymar score after something like 8 seconds?
It was obscene. I think Neymar got another, and Mbappe ended up with a hat trick in the second half. I would just this is it's not a discussion about the comparison between the leagues, but look at Bayern Munich today. Yeah, they I saw them when they were about 4 or 5. Was it 7
Yeah,
in the end?
7. Yeah,
7 in the end.
Away from home. It's just that. That's why there's such a huge difference in quality, I think, and between the Premier League and the other leagues.
Don't say that because I think we took a 5-0 hiding last season. So
Yeah.
at home. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
But you're not the champions of Germany, though.
That's true. So I mean, looking at other teams, then thereabouts when we're talking about size. So Chelsea after Aubameyang, maybe is that's a possibility? Have they watched the documentary on Prime Video? I mean, have they? I wonder whether
are they willing to pay
any attention to that kind of thing before they make these signings?
Are they willing to pay £21 million for a player that Barcelona got for nothing?
Only 6 months ago.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
It's some weird. There's some weird transfer dealings going on, isn't it? It doesn't kind of stack up.
Well, they're just missing a striker completely, aren't they?
But Chelsea have just gone and just seem to be spending on everybody and anybody. I mean, do we think Fofana's worth the money that Leicester are holding out for? It feels like that deal's going to happen because the players had his head turned. So,
well, they paid over the price for Cucurella, and how much did City go up to for him, Asa? Was it 50?
No, it wasn't even that close. We were looking at more 40, I think.
And they've paid 62 for him?
Yeah. Because we there's one thing that was released last week. City did do a thing every year. It's very similar to like, the Amazon Prime, All or Nothing ones where they do behind the scenes. And they're just talking about transfer activity. There's just 2 of them in there. And the top 2 is City who deal with transfers. And they've got a list of every single player in Europe who are out of contract within a year. Every single player who's out of contract within 2 years, including their own. And they're discussing every single player on that list going, are we going to go for this player? How much what's the maximum price we're going to pay? And that was 6 months ago.
It's like a Football Manager filter.
Yeah. It's just brilliant to listen to.
Yeah. They've already made their decision. Yeah. United are just, hoping somebody shows a bit of interest. And I don't mind some of the players we've gone for or supposedly are interested in. I think Anthony's a very good player, and I think would certainly freshen up our attacking options from a wide point of view. But at the same time, you kind of go, so what are we then doing with the likes of Sancho and Rashford? Are we saying, well, actually, they is it a case of, Rashford needs to be moved on? Does Fernandes need to be moved on? Should we be building a team around Eriksen? I mean, he's the one that's actually looked like he's got a bit of quality so far from the first 2 games, but that's a bit of a stretch to even suggest that, having watched both of them.
Are they playing in their best positions, though?
What is Eriksen's best position?
What is Sancho's best position?
I think for
winger.
Dortmund,
He's a winger.
Which side?
Dortmund, he was left-sided. Was I think was his stronger.
And where does he play for United?
Mostly on the right. Or him and Rashford will switch over, but he's predominantly starts on the right. And the trouble is, he starts on the right with either Darlow or Wan-Bissaka behind him, which means you're already kind of,
I think your face just said it all.
You're already kind of just like, well, okay. It's going to be a tough 90 minutes, isn't it? Before you've even done anything.
I'm just thinking back to when we played you last season, when Sancho scored against us. What happened? Oh, he came in from the left-hand side. And he looked quite good. It's crazy how that happens. And then he's not played there again for how long?
Yeah, I don't quite understand how we have had ability to turn half decent players into bang average players for the last few years. It is quite funny. So, but we'll see what happens with Casemiro. I mean, say Don asked the question in the chat, and I think the concerns would be that I've read a really good article before we'd actually, when it kind of broke that we might be doing the deal, basically explaining why you shouldn't do the deal, along the lines of the types of players that he's played, where he does well, and the types of teams where he struggles. He struggles a lot more in the Brazilian national setup than he ever did for Real Madrid, because there was always the covers are pretty much, he didn't play the ball forward. Although in recent times he's scored a few more goals, but the reality of it is he's 30 and is now kind of going to be seeing out his I think we're still getting him possibly maybe not quite at his peak, but not a million miles off his peak abilities. But how will he cope with the Premier League, which is just a different speed and intensity, isn't it? I guess
from a purely outsider's point of view, like mine, I don't care one way or another about United, but it kind of feels like someone's in a room, they're blindfolded, they've been spun around and told to throw a dart, and that's the player they're signing. That's kind of how it feels. There doesn't seem to be any specific plans. Well, whether there actually is.
Real Madrid have already have got 2 players kind of in that role, which are the 2 youngsters, and I can't even remember. I think both out of the French league. If I want to say.
There's one I can't pronounce.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it because I'd absolutely crucify it. But both of them, that I thought they would be good signings for United, and we got neither of them. And we're now getting the guy that effectively they're replacing.
Yeah, it's like these players have had to make a decision this summer. Do I go to United or do I go to the European champions? It's not a hard decision.
No, and that's the problem. And I'm fully aware that we're the thing is, from a United, I think I said this to Des on the show a couple of weeks back, is we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. So we're always going to pay United tax with anyone that we're interested in. That's pretty much a standard thing. So if you do that and you want to pay for somebody that's kind of in the peak of their abilities, we're going to pay over the odds, which means all we get accused of is you're paying over the odds. If we don't,
the fans are going to criticise you both ways, aren't they?
Yeah, if we buy somebody who's not of that quality because we're going to take a bit of a chance and see what they can do, we're getting told, well, we shouldn't be buying those type of players. We should be buying better quality. You can't win either way in it. Ultimately, all that matters is performances on the pitch. If you do that, then it's not a problem. Everything else is pretty quickly forgotten about. Because for all the stuff about the Glazers, they've spent money. They've brought in some of the best managers in the game, and it hasn't made a difference to anything.
I was reading some article though where it said all the money that they have spent has come out of the club itself through whatever merchandising, whatever. I mean, I guess that's a business model. You say, well, you're only paying there for what you can afford. But when you've got the Chelsea owner for the last 20 years and the City owners and the PSG owners and everybody piling money into the club to pay for these transfers, you're going to be at a disadvantage doing it that way, aren't you? And if the Glazers aren't prepared to do that, are you ultimately going to fall behind?
Yeah, I mean, they bought United effectively like you would buy your house, effectively a mortgage on the club and put it into debt to do that. But the business has been able to pay the interest on that debt. It's also allowed them to take a bit of a dividend out as well for themselves. Plus, it's allowed us to, in the last whatever period, spend £1 billion in the transfer window. Now, if we didn't have the interest payment and they didn't pay their dividend, okay, there might be another $1 billion in the pot, which means we'd have gone and spent $2 billion on players. The point is there's never not been money.
$1 billion should be enough.
Yeah, $1 billion should be enough to build a squad. If I said to you now, right, I'll give you a Premier League club, but we've not signed any players. Yeah. How much do you think you'd need to spend to get a top 4 team if you were buying from scratch? So you're probably going to need a squad of, if you said, probably want a squad of 20, something like that.
Yeah. You're going to need at least 750 million, aren't you? 37.5 million per player.
I'd say about three quarters of $1 billion if you were doing it from scratch. Well, we've spent more than that, and we weren't doing it from scratch. So it isn't the fact that there's not been money to spend. It's the only thing that I guess from a United point of view, finances. I know this is turning into me ranting about United, but is the frustration that money could have been spent to improve the stadium, improve the fan experience, possibly improve the training ground, which there's still money there to do that, but all of that could have been done by now. When you see some of the grounds around the Premier League these days, Old Trafford is looking pretty tired.
Yeah, I was actually talking to one of my customers over the weekend. He came in the United top, so I was just having a chat with him, and he was.
But you basically you were just laughing at him for 20 minutes.
Yeah, straight away, of course, naturally. You're brave was the first word I said. And the thing we both agreed on was the same. Was the massive one, which is Old Trafford is a crumbling ruin. It so badly needs development. It is horrendous inside. Luckily, I've not been for 35 years. Probably just as bad as now as it was then.
25 years since I've been. I don't get to go to any of the major stadiums, though, if I'm being honest. So I can't compare.
Would you like to know? I have literally seen one game at Old Trafford, and it was an England under 15 game versus Scotland under 15, and Ryan Giggs was playing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, obviously it was Ryan Wilson back then, but that's how long ago that was.
Well,
I think I was 11.
Paul and I did a tour of the whilst in Vegas of the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, which is the second most expensive, I think, in the world. And yeah, you're just like, wow, and I've seen, you see the pictures of Tottenham's new ground, and even the Emirates is pretty decent. What Liverpool are doing at Anfield with the new stand, and they're still developing again. And Liverpool are going through now what United went through 15 years ago, with building, growing Old Trafford. The reality of it is football stadiums have massively moved on, and the prices that you're paying to go to games now, you want more bang for your buck when you're watching the top teams. You expect more of an experience on match days, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You don't just want to go and watch a game now. You want to enjoy obviously the atmosphere is the main, and the football, but you want to have the option to do whatever you want to do at that stadium. When you want to have good food, you want to have good drinks. You don't want to pay over the odds for rubbish. And obviously it's all becoming more commercial because it has to be.
Well, you see what Real Madrid are doing at their stadium. Spending a serious chunk of money. I mean, I dread to think where the money's quite coming from, but Barcelona have done similar plans, haven't they?
Have they sold it to their council again?
Yeah,
which is what I believe they did with the training ground, didn't they? They sold it to the council for like $1
they sold it to the council for a lot of money, and then the council gave them a new training ground somewhere else, I think.
Yeah, for $1 or something stupid. Yeah,
for a new training ground. Yeah. Well, but the trouble is both of those clubs in Spain are so important to the local economy. They're never going to allow them to ever. I mean, how Barcelona have got away with the signings they've made this summer, selling future, media rights and everything else to basically get some funds back in, because actually the La Liga's financial regulations are ridiculously strong compared to what we've got in this country. We pretty much let most things go, I think, don't we, really?
It's like a salary cap.
Didn't Xavi come out today? I think it was either yesterday or today to say they can't actually register. I can't remember who the player is until we sell somebody. He's actually come out and said it. It's one of the latest signings.
It's the defender, isn't it? The French defender.
Yeah.
They can't actually register because they don't comply with the current rules. I mean, that's just nuts, isn't it?
They're trying to get rid of that. Is it Danish striker who they signed when everybody was injured on like a 5-year contract, and now he's refusing to leave?
Oh, yeah. I know the guy.
Braithwaite.
But because he had a ridiculously low buyout clause.
Yeah.
The club they bought him from were absolutely fuming over it because it was just nonsense. But again, that's another thing they've got in Spain is they have buyout clauses. I mean, some of the buyout clauses they just set absolutely ridiculous because ultimately, if somebody comes in with a bag of cash, it's not even up for discussion. You've got no option.
I think they have to have a buyout clause, don't they, in La Liga? But that's not true for Premier League. So they just set it at crazy amounts. It was something like Messi's last buyout clause was like 800 million or something when he was 32.
Yeah, and it's just not going to. Was it? And that they've gone up because was it Neymar's that actually was the one that got hit? Was it his buyout clause when he went to PSG, the one that they did actually pay for and release? Because it was he went
Possibly
200 million or something like that, I think. So.
Oh, yeah, it was something crazy. 180, 200. Yeah, it was something absolutely ridiculous. I know that when City bought Laporte, they actually, that was the same thing. We met the criteria to sign him, and that was it. We went and signed him. Very, 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 very easy by all accounts.
The bubble has burst in the Turbo Knockout. Finally, it did go on a little bit hand for hand there. So we are down to 9 players now. Not really many that I recognise, even from playing in the from Leaderboard Ladders each week.
I've been keeping an eye on it.
Main's probably about the only one that I do, Neckers, who's currently chip leader at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that anyway, but carry on the football discussion. So where do we think Liverpool are going to be this season? Obviously, poor start to the campaign, 2 draws.
Second again.
Yeah. Top 2, top 3.
Still think they will? Yeah, you still think they will? They'll do good. Yeah.
Yeah, they again, City have an injury problem, but nothing compared to Liverpool. Liverpool's are crazy at the moment. In terms of how, especially in the midfield, they are really struggling midfield wise. They've got plenty up front. They've got a decent enough defence, but midfield they are really, really struggling. And yet they've got a completely fit midfielder who can't get a game. Kaiser. Well, the couch is absolutely fine, and they're not playing him.
Is that? I mean, I thought I read somewhere that he was potentially on the move, or
so same here.
Unsettled. Was that the?
Because he can't get a game, basically.
But is that just Klopp doesn't fancy him, or?
I don't. Every time I've seen him, it just doesn't seem to offer that little bit of different than some of the other players do. Look at I drool over watching Thiago play because he makes it look so simple. If he's got the ball and a little bit of time, it just makes the game look effortless. And I love that about him. I know one of your favourite players, Phil, Henderson.
Hey, I don't mind Henderson.
There's something he's added to his game in the last sort of 2-3 years. I think he's a lot better than a lot of people give him credit for.
I think they're terrific in every position. I just think they fall 2 or 3 points behind City every year because when they have 2 or 3 injuries, they don't quite have the same quality to come in and do the job. I mean, you were talking about City earlier about where does Bernardo Silva play. The fact that Bernardo Silva doesn't play every week is a joke in itself.
Yeah.
And you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 players who would walk into any other team in the entire league and make them better. And I think the same about Liverpool's first 11, but I don't think the same about Liverpool's bench. And that's the difference between the 2 clubs in the end. And it's only that much.
Yeah,
but it's the reason why Liverpool have only really won a kind of COVID-based league title in the last 30 years.
You're trying to say that without smiling, Leigh.
The one that didn't count.
I get all these in because whilst Des isn't here, so it's okay.
The fact they haven't won more than 1 title in the last 5 years, though, it's crazy when you think about how good they've been.
It is absolutely ridiculous. It is that kind of thing where they've just got to look and go, yeah, what a time to be.
Yeah.
Was it something like 4.5 years worth of results, and there's something like 1 point between City and Liverpool?
Yeah,
and Liverpool and City have won 4 titles.
Yeah, there was just that one season when they came third, wasn't there? When they lost those 6 home games on the trot.
Yeah,
but every other season apart from that, it's been 90 odd points each, which is just mental. You look back through United's dominant period; they never really got more than 85 points in a season. They were still losing 4 or 5 games every season. It's moved on now.
They never needed to.
They
these
didn't.
2 sides have just raised the bar.
Yeah,
absolutely raised the bar. what's achievable. And you're right with the statement you made earlier on, Phil, where we talked about Arsenal, and you said, do you think Arsenal can get 90 points?
So if you're going to challenge for the title, that's what you need these days.
So
and I can see Arsenal getting 80.
So what we're talking about is are Arsenal going to win, 30 of their games and draw? Because you assume they're going to probably lose 3 or 4 along the way. So are they going to win 28, 29 games and draw another 4 or 5?
I don't know. I do think they could come third this year. I think Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, there's not a lot between them. And they could finish third, fourth, and fifth in any order.
Tottenham have disappointed me so far.
Have they?
I felt, I don't know why, but I just thought through this transfer window, I thought they'd signed a few good players and they built a bit more strength and depth, but they didn't seem to have many ideas.
They need time to gel, don't they? Time to settle.
And obviously, it's difficult to know whether the Chelsea result today was just an absolute one-off. But my understanding is Leeds absolutely, blitzed them.
Oh, totally deserved it.
Like, one of my best friends is a massive Inter Milan fan, and when Conte was over there, he was saying if they won one, his perfect game was 1-0 win, and you can see that he's trying to bring that into Tottenham as well. He's trying to make them as solid as possible, and trying to get wins that way. And they've got the strike force to score so many goals.
But do you think in this Premier League in this era, it's like 1-0 to the Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can do that in this.
But in the end, the best defensive teams usually still win the league and the trophies, don't they? I mean, you look at the crazy amount of goals and everybody that Liverpool and City have scored in the last few years. Just look at their defensive records, though. They're still the teams with the most clean sheets and the fewest goals conceded.
Yeah, no,
there's a brilliant article in I think it was The Athletic at the end of last season. It's one of the many online magazines about football, and it had a circle of I think 9 or 10 different stats, and from possession to possession, passing completion to tackles, and Liverpool and United and City, was so far ahead of everybody else. It wasn't even funny. In every single one, they hit the outside of the circle on virtually every category, and I think maybe the odd team got to the outside of the circle on a certain line, but nowhere near any of the others. And that's just how scary good both sides are.
If it was an article about football, I don't think United would be involved at the moment.
They were in it. They just were lower down.
Not quite sure. So Mr. Thursfield's in the chat again. So who's more unlucky with their timing, Liverpool or Andy Murray?
Oh.
It's exactly. But you see that you see it in sporting situations all through life. I mean, is it Ray Clements?
Yeah, like 6 caps for England or something.
Because it just so happened there was one Peter Shilton that was around at the same time. So basically, just didn't get it. But arguably, probably not far off as good a goalkeeper. In the grand scheme of things, but I suppose it just happens in sport. Is you come up against, people you think, well, if it wasn't for that, I would have done whatever.
I think you alluded to a sensible point earlier, though. They push each other on. Yeah. Djokovic probably became as good as he was because of Nadal, Federer, and Murray. Liverpool have become as good as they are because City have made them like that, and vice versa.
Well, Pep's very open about saying that, isn't he? He's always saying, Liverpool push us to become better. Liverpool push us to win these games. We know we can't drop a point. When we get to this point of the season, say, last couple of years, it's been February. It's like, from now to the end of the season, you cannot drop a point or you don't win the league.
So who do you think if there was one team looking at signing so far and what's rumoured to be going on before the end of the season, could make that 2 or 3 and have 3 teams pushing each other? Which of the teams do you think it is that could be the ones that could be closest to Liverpool and City?
Somebody will get there. Give it 5 years, it'll be Newcastle because they've got the money to blow on it. But right now, I think Arsenal are the ones that are going to probably get closer. And then it goes down to Chelsea or Tottenham as to which one's more consistent to get fourth. But I don't see either of those or any of those three teams finishing within 15 points of City.
Do you think
I'm thinking the other way around.
Arsenal because of the squad that they're building, or Arsenal because of Arteta, or is it a combination of the two?
I think they'll be able to rest the first choice team a little bit more in the Europa League games than Chelsea and Tottenham will in the Champions League. That this Champions League this year is really different because they're playing like the 6 group games over about an 8-week period. So
they're blitzing them all before the World Cup, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be a bit more resting and rotating of players for the Champions League teams than Arsenal are probably going to say, right, well, we'll just keep the big boys at home and we'll play the Nketiahs and Emile Smith-Rowe's, great players still in all the Europa League games. And I just think that might give them the 5 points that they might need to just come third. But I'm prepared to be completely wrong on this. I often am.
Well, strangely enough, you say that Pep's actually after the game today has said to the City press that don't expect Haaland to play every game. He's not once we go to a game every 3-4 days, Haaland will be playing once a week because he's not fit enough.
But not fit enough at the moment, or
he's not fit enough at the moment. Yeah, I think he's being sensible and going to look after him. You know, the last thing we want to do is him to overplay and break down. We have a strong enough squad to not worry about having to play him every single game.
Yeah, I was interested when the 5 subs came back in as a permanent thing, whether the likes of Liverpool and City would go out and splash the cash on another 2-3, better level squad players on the basis that they then would start making 5 substitutions. But that doesn't seem to be a thing at the moment, early on.
Not yet. I look at it 2 ways. With the 5 subs, if you're easily winning the game, great, get all your players off. If you're losing a game, when it's the last sort of 20 minutes, you can go, right, all you off, all you on. You can absolutely massively change the complexion of a game. If it's a close game, like today's was, especially for City, if it's a close game, do you really want to make those moves?
Yeah, I think they couldn't today.
Yeah. Would you do it if, say Grealish was on the bench today, would you bring him on in that game? I don't think you do.
Well, Pep, though, historically, particularly with people like Foden, he doesn't seem to play 90 minutes. He did today. But it's like he always seems to say, right, 55 minutes, Foden comes off, Mahrez goes on. I expected Haaland to be a bit like that earlier, that after 65 minutes, especially if your couple goes up, off Haaland goes and on comes Alvarez. That's how you deal with those 2 players in the first few months. But yeah, do you think they'll prioritise the league or the Champions League group games then, Asa, when it gets to that? Because it is going to be, I think, 6 matches over 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah. I think we'll do exactly what we've always done, which is the league is number 1. We've, Pep says it, the owners say it, the league is number 1. We've always said that. So
do you think Haaland won't play many of the group games in the Champions League because she'll probably be good enough to go through anyway?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that he might play the home games, but the away games, we might go, what, this is good for Alvarez to play, build up his confidence.
Well, my FPL team hopes you're right.
Yeah, I'm not bothered in that respect.
Based on that might work. But then, of course, then we hit a World Cup where anything could happen for that period of time.
Do we have any favourites? I haven't got a clue.
I mean, you'd like to think England are in with a shout, wouldn't you? And then it's the usual suspects, I would suggest.
Yeah. There's no one very clear ahead of anyone else.
I don't fancy the Italians.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I'm just absolutely can't wait for it, for the fact that I get to watch Wales play in a World Cup, which I wouldn't have even, if you'd have said to me, 10 years ago, I'd have said I doubt I'd have even got to see us play in a major championship in my lifetime. And
I remember the guy missing the penalty against Romania so many years ago.
Paul Bowden.
93 was it?
The old. I was there at the old Arms Park before the Millennium Stadium was built, and he skied it into the terraces behind the goal. Yeah,
ouch.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think we would, and when you kind of then had players, that kind of that was the time when you sort of had Hughes, Saunders, that kind of Ian Rush, and then the kind of Giggs era, and you thought, well, is he going to be able to bring any players? It's been Gareth Bale that's managed to do it.
Well, he deserves to play in a World Cup, though, doesn't he? Yeah,
brought the squad together and managed to get there, and I'm going to love it for that, and whatever happens afterwards. With the league, we will see. But I think is it back for the Christmas games? Is that right?
Boxing Day, first game. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? I have a kind of favourite for the World Cup if one player gets in form, which is Belgium.
Who's the player?
Hazard.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because you think about it,
he's not really turned it on for Real, has he?
No.
Think he's going to
he's been injured for 3 years, hasn't he?
So my thought process is that if both him and De Bruyne are firing, and they got Lukaku up front, he's not the greatest striker in the world, but he scores goals. If those two are both firing, how the hell are you going to mark them both?
I mean, the Belgian squad is so strong.
Yeah,
it really is. It's ridiculous the number of players they've got playing at the top level in some of the top leagues in the world.
It's
wide open though, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, I think
the Germans will be there and thereabouts. They always are. I like you say, Leigh. I'd hope England would be in it, but I'm close. But I think if we've learned anything over the last sort of year or two, you've got to have a plan B. We didn't in the last time. We had one plan, it didn't work. Change it. Oh, we don't have another plan. That's what
I don't think we've got enough creativity in midfield.
I think there's a few worries. I think without if Kane's not firing, I'm not quite sure who you've got up top that could come in and do anything. And he certainly doesn't ever want to drop Kane. And sometimes there's a reality that he's not contributing enough to the game. But what are your other options?
They're going to say, Calvert-Lewin had a really good start in an England jersey, but where's he gone?
Injured.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who else is there now? Who's next on the list? I couldn't even think of one.
Well, when there was an interview before, as I said, there was an interview before the game this afternoon with Callum Wilson, and it got talked about, if you scored a few goals, start the season, give yourself a shout for an England. And I'm thinking, wow, really? But maybe that's the point. Is Kane's been there for so long now. Again, it's like when you couldn't drop Rooney from the team.
His numbers are amazing, though. I mean, he's one. I think he does get a bit of a raw deal. That if he's, he's continued throughout most of his career scoring at a pretty consistent rate, even for England. And we should be, I think Kane will be viewed by German press if he was German, and by Spanish press if he was Spanish press, as being a world superstar. And yet, for some reason, we seem to want to try and point out what isn't right as a reason why he's not world class. Where every number that you want to look at statistically for his career, he's world class.
So he brought the team around him, then, and that's it. Then so it's then maybe it is the creativity is lacking.
I think we've got the attacking midfielders, but I just think that the Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, they're good defensive. They break play up well, which is why we've been incredibly difficult to beat in a major tournament recently. But when you need that goal to win that big game, it's not coming from one of those three, is it? They're not picking out that pass that's going to unlock the defense. And I just think we become easy to stop. And in the end, a quality team will beat us.
And as you say, in the final against Italy, it was the lack of ability to change when the game wasn't going the way. There wasn't a plan B. There wasn't another option. And
he was crying out for Foden. Obviously, Foden was injured, but he was crying out for Foden. He was crying out for someone like Sancho to come on. And, it was when Sancho's in form, you weren't playing. End of. Because he's so good when he's on form. But
remind me what Sancho on form looks like again.
I know.
Scary. Scary.
But there's so many players that Southgate likes and historically picks that are not really playing that well at the moment and arguably shouldn't be in the squad. But you kind of know he's still going to pick them, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, what's your both your views on Maguire? There was a story this week, potentially Chelsea taking him in a swap deal for Pulisic. I don't know how. Again, to be honest, I reckon I could get a job just making up stories about United's potential transfer.
Harry Maguire is a Chesterfield boy at the end of the day from my hometown, so I will always, at the very least, refuse to comment.
I believe with Maguire, a lot of it is just a confidence thing.
Yeah.
He is just at an absolute low. Anything that's gone on, whether it be on the pitch, off the pitch.
Do you think Rafael Varane is a world-class defender?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because he looks average in the United team at the moment as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think if you point a finger at Harry Maguire and say he's terrible, well, actually, there's an awful lot of players look as bad, but he's getting the raw deal.
Again, at the age that we signed Varane, I thought, wow, we're getting an absolute Rolls Royce of a centre back here, albeit in a very strong Real Madrid side for years. But I thought, this is going to go really, really well. And he's looked very uncomfortable.
But he is a good player, though. So it's something else which is causing these really good players to look poor. And I think it's the same about Maguire. Is he world class? No, he's probably not. Is he one of the best centre halves we've got? Probably, yeah. Because who are you going to play in the England team ahead of him? Connor Cody? Tyrone Mings? Really?
You're spot on, mate. You're spot on. It's like I generally think that when it was Maguire and Stones playing together, they actually complemented each other quite well. Just in how they both are as centre backs. But the depth, there's no depth, is there?
No.
After those two, like if you think about it,
Michael Keane played for England a couple of years ago, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Now, here's a scary thought. How many right backs could he actually take to the World Cup?
4.
Now, I reckon he could take 5.
Go on, let me name them. Trent.
Yep.
Reece James.
Yep.
Kyle Walker.
Yep.
Kieran Trippier.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, the 5th one is I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there'll be a 5th one.
It's not Wan-Bissaka. I wouldn't take him.
Oh, surely it is. He's the best tackling defender right back in the land.
You could definitely take the other 4 though.
One on one. No one's beating Wan-Bissaka 1-on-1. Honestly, he can't do anything else.
Which one of those 4 would you play then, Asa?
It depends on the formation. If he plays 3 at the back like
nicely dodged.
No, genuinely being absolutely serious. If he's playing 4 at the back, I play the person who offers most of the side, which at the moment is Alexander-Arnold. He's not the best defensively, but he offers so much going forward, and that is another thing we miss.
Yeah, I think if you need a goal, you play Trent. I think if you are already in front, you play Kyle Walker.
I genuinely think he's going to play 3 at the back again. 3 at the back, so it would be Maguire, Stones, Walker again. Then who plays there? You kind of have to play Reece James there then, because he's played there more often than anyone else.
It's really weird that England do this. Bear in mind that they then play players there that don't play in those formations for their clubs very often. It's such a bizarre thing to do. And I guess with, we're talking a few months away, you can't go changing it too much. You've got to have some sort of set formation of how you're going to play the game, surely.
I think you can have a plan A and plan B though, can't you?
Yeah, definitely.
But that needs to be trained.
I think he's going to stick with 3 at the back, which means he's then playing. He's then playing Trent as a wing back potentially,
which he's never done.
He's never really done, because he's actually quite capable of playing as a fullback. So,
but wouldn't you play Connor Cody now if it was a 3 though, because he at least plays in a 3 for most of his career, rather than Kyle Walker?
The reason they put Kyle there is for his pace. because if you've watched the previous games, he's the one that tends to get England out of trouble purely because of his pace, and I think that's the only reason they play him. I don't think he should. I generally don't think he should play in the back three.
No, I don't either.
But that is why they've been doing it.
But if you're playing, so if you're going to play a back three, the wing backs sort of.
Who's the left wing back?
Do they pick
Chilwell
or not?
if he's fit?
If he's fit, if he's not fit, do you play Shaw?
Chilwell ahead of Shaw?
I'd play Chilwell ahead of Shaw if it was 3 at the back wing back. Yeah,
I agree with that.
And then
I'd play Luke Shaw as a left back.
You're going to play Rice and Phillips.
Yeah, both. Well,
you're going to play Kane. So what does that?
I wouldn't play both of them, but they're going to play both of them.
That then leaves you with
2.
He's going to play
attackers.
You've got 2 to choose from.
Foden plus
Sterling seems to be one.
Yeah, Foden and Sterling probably.
And then, but Mount always plays.
So then Mount always plays. Don Logan's in the chat saying, if Joe Gomez stayed fit, he could do the job.
In a 3, yeah. He's got to play though, and he's not going to, is he?
Well, he's going to play now because Liverpool have got no one else. So he's going to play the next couple of games, I reckon.
But if everybody at Liverpool was fit,
he's not playing.
Gomez doesn't get in that side.
No.
He gets in the old rotation 11, doesn't he?
Well, when Liverpool had their first 11 out and Alexander-Arnold comes off,
it's Van Dijk and Konate, isn't it?
Yeah,
pretty much.
And Matip.
Oh, Matip, yeah.
Matip ahead of Gomez.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, Matip's been starting alongside Van Dijk more than Konate when everyone's been fit.
How could you pick Liverpool's 4th choice centre back as an England starter then?
Yeah. So if you think about it, he's also been covering Trent at right back, but so has Milner, and Milner's done it more often, I think, if memory serves. So do you take Milner in that respect? But
I love Milner,
of course,
but no.
I do. Yeah, I think we all do.
So if you wanted, so here's the question for you both then. So Kane, something happens to Kane and he's out pre-World Cup. Who, do you play a number 9 to directly replace Kane, and if so, who? Or do you then look and go, well, actually, no, we're going to put the best attacking players we can, and we play with a false 9 at the World Cup and see what happens? I mean, what are you thinking? What's the cover?
I always look at it from the point of view of what's most scary for the opposition, and you do what it takes. So I love the fact when we play occasionally. I'm not Sterling's greatest fan, even though he's played for City for a long time. I'm not his greatest fan, but with him up front, he scares players, he scares defenders, and I wouldn't mind him being there because he's done it so often. Is he an out-and-out striker? No. Is he going to score the goals that Kane does? No. But he'll also create other opportunities that wouldn't have happened if Kane was up front.
Do I have to answer?
No, you don't have to answer.
It depends on form and fitness. I think Calvert-Lewin fully fit is a Kane-style striker, and would you allow you to play somebody without changing the system of everybody else? But he's not as good. Nowhere near. But if he was fully fit and playing well for Everton, I think he probably would play. But I don't know. I agree with you about Sterling, by the way. It's another big discussion we often have. It's like Sterling never seems to let England down and plays really quite well and doesn't deserve to not play. But yeah.
There's discussion again.
You always feel as if somebody else might do better, but then Sterling always does the business in an England shirt.
So again, one of the many discussions I've had about Sterling is if he doesn't have time to think about what he's doing, he is extremely good.
Yeah.
When he thinks, when he say one-on-one with the keeper, he seems to have that little freeze icon, and then the chance is gone. So, and I think the fact that you do get that little bit less time on the ball at the top level of international football, I like Sterling in that position.
Like 12 months ago, I'd have still been trying to convince Jamie Vardy to come back out of retirement, but not now.
No. So another of your great could have been signings, Leigh.
Oh yeah, add him to the starting 11. So Don's come back and said Gomez was first choice before getting injured for England. So yeah, that's he was, but I think that was before Canate had been signed, wasn't it? So
I do think he's a great player, Gomez. I think a bit like he's another similar situation to Gabriel Jesus. He needs to go from Liverpool and play first choice for somebody, and then you probably might find he gets back up to that level. But when you make 6 starts a year at Liverpool, for his career, he needs to go, I think.
And Joe Chillmade's in the chat, says evening chaps, which is perfect timing, Joe, because Joe is going to be on this very show in a couple of weeks' time, along with Pete Wigglesworth. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's just a dream partnership, really. I can't wait.
She'll be pleased with my Arsenal positivity.
Yeah, that's well, we're still playing heads up in the turbo knockout. It's Germany versus the UK, Matten versus Tyrrell. Who's really Matten should be seeing this out with a chip stack. Really, it's sort of a 6-1, 7-1 chip lead, but we'll see how this one is going to play. I mean, what do you think with the? I know they've moved it to the winter, and they've just been messing about with that. It is over actually. Matten picked up the win there. So, simple as that. Yeah. So
nice full house with 4-3.
Yeah. So does the temperature make a difference for the World Cup? Does the fact that it's all just a little bit kind of been moved around? Does it make any country benefit from any of that, or not really?
Not these days. I think the fitness is much better. You go back historically, and the big sweltering heat World Cups in South America and the kind of tropical areas were always won by South American teams. When it went to the Far East in 2002, Brazil won. But I think the last 10, 12 years now, everybody's so fit. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I agree. It'll just be there'll be that little bit of a spin on a ball or something like that. That a team will goes out, or a controversial penalty, even with VAR, a handball one, and that'll be the difference between who wins and who loses the World Cup, I think, this year.
If you were pulling a team out of the sweepstake, though, Asa, you got your hand in the bag, all the folded up bits of paper are there. Who do you want to pull out?
Belgium.
Leigh?
I still think Brazil would be mine.
I think I'd want Brazil or Argentina.
Yeah, I think so. I'd still go South American. I think Brazil will be.
And we haven't even mentioned Spain, who, are relatively good. Germany,
another team with striker troubles, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Spain. Who they're playing up front? Are they still playing Morata up front?
He's always in the squad. I don't know if he actually starts.
I think they're missing that world-class striker that will do a Haaland at the right moment.
Isn't it mad that Haaland's not going? That's just
crazy.
One of the most exciting strikers around at the moment, and and he's not gonna make it. Let me round up the poker for the week, as we that was the last of the 4 for tonight. So I've got whilst we've been chatting football and everything, I've managed to keeping a spreadsheet up together, so I do have a final update. Nothing really much changed on a Sunday night. All the poker you played tonight, pretty much pointless. I could have told you who was top of the leaderboard at the start of the night. We could have saved yourselves a lot of bother. Although you've both cashed in tournaments tonight, so you're both in profit, I think. So
oh yeah, I'm delighted. I'm very happy.
Yeah, well, mine with tickets.
Yeah, so it's a successful night to this. But very well done to Tony Ross. He was top of the leaderboard at the start of the night. Don't tell Des, he's a step fiver, so this is going to cost us. He's going to pick up 3 lots of $55 tickets for the week. All added value, so very well done to him. His Ilfracombe compatriot, Yanni, also got 5 cashes for the week. He's only on step 1, though, so cheap date, Yanni. Thanks very much. Much appreciated there. Chaz Kearns finished 3rd. Eddie finished 4th. And Andre Tin from Kazakhstan closed out the top 5. Nothing much to worry about, I think, in the rest of the top 20 for us. I think we've got away quite lightly for the week, to be honest. That could have been far more painful than that. I guess that's kind of it for the night, as we're done with the poker, and we've pretty much decided who's going to win the World Cup or something along those lines. Don't know who United are going to sign between now and the end of the transfer window, but I don't think they know. So I don't think we have got too much to worry about on that. Next week,
you could always come with non-league football's where it's at now.
Yeah. Next week on the show, hopefully we've got Dan Williams, commercial manager for Poker News, back on, friend of the show. He's been over at the EPT in Barcelona, so hopefully he'll give us a catch up on everything that went on over there, and also previewing the EPT London and UK IPT London that's been announced and returning. And then, as I mentioned, week after that, the plan at the moment is we have Joe Chilmaid and Pete Wigglesworth on the show. So we've got a Rampart show, and hopefully Des will be back next week, and he's not gallivanting off to far-fetched countries like Wales for a weekend. Fingers crossed. All it remains for me is to say a huge thank you to both Asa and Phil for taking your time out this evening to just chat football, really, and keep an eye on a bit of poker. Well done to both of you on your cashes. Nicely done, pair of you. Just goes to show there is no APAT show, Bok, whatever anybody else might say. Leaderboard Ladders starts all again tomorrow night, so if you want to get involved in that, get cracking. 2 tournaments tonight to get involved in, and we will see you same time next Sunday back on the APAT show. But have a good week, guys.
Thank you, Leigh.
Thank you. Good night, all.